Buy Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, rumour has it, the new cabinet to be limited to 26. Another term. Mahinda Rajapaksa to be sworn in as Prime Minister for the 4th time tomorrow. Significant inroads. SLPP nationalist nominee President's Council Ali Sabri believes that minority communities have understood the message of unity. Unwanted record. General election 2020 records the highest number of rejected votes. But why?
Electoral literacy of the public. Few people casting ballots just to exercise rights.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 8th of August, 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then Dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanaka. Let's start with your local stories. Now, leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Mahinda Rajapaksa will take oath as Sri Lanka's Prime Minister tomorrow. On a personal note, it will be his 4th instance of being sworn in as the island's Premier. The selected venue for the occasion, meanwhile, is the sacred site of Kalaniya and will take oath before the country's president and his own brother, Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Mahinda Rajapaksa, who won an overwhelming majority in the general election, will be sworn in as the Prime Minister of the Socialist Democratic Republic of Sri Lanka at the sacred site of Kalaniya tomorrow. He is scheduled to take oath before President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at 8:30 a.m. The cabinet will be sworn in after the Election Commission gazettes the nationalist nominees and the parliamentarians elected to the 9th Parliament of the Socialist Democratic Republic of Sri Lanka. According to government sources, the cabinet will be sworn in on Friday the 14th at the King's Court of the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Kandy. Government sources also confirmed that the cabinet will be limited to just 26 ministers. Meanwhile, congratulatory messages continue to pour in as more heads of state extended their well wishes to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on his election victory. Taking to Twitter, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa acknowledged the best wishes of Australian Premier Scott Morrison, who also congratulated him on the election victory. Prime Minister of Pakistan Imran Khan had also congratulated Premier Rajapaksa over the phone. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was also among the world leaders who congratulated Prime Minister Rajapaksa. The Sri Lankan PM responded via Twitter, quote, "I recall the great strides our two countries made during my presidency with my visit to Japan and your visit to Sri Lanka. I hope we can continue to further that cooperation and our long-established partnership," unquote. Meanwhile, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle called on Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today and congratulated him on the landslide victory achieved during the general election. He conveyed the message of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, inviting Sri Lanka to land the first international flight to the newly upgraded airport in Kushinagar, India.
Now, in the meantime, nationalist nominee of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna President's Council Ali Sabri believes that minority communities have understood that they need to work with the leadership of the Sinhala majority in Sri Lanka, casting aside any differences. Speaking to media today, Sabri also alluded to the significant inroads made by the SLPP and other supporting factions in the north and east during Wednesday's general election.
මේ සමානුපාතික ඡන්දක්‍රමයේ ලංකාවට හඳුන්වලා දෙන අවස්ථාවේදී මිනිස්සු කවදාවත් හිතුවේ නැහැ 3න් 2ක් ගන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක. ප්‍රථම වතාවට ඉතිහාසයේ අපිට 3න් 2 අද ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. අපිට 145ක් ආසන තියෙනවා. අපිත් එක්ක තරඟ කරපු ජනාධිපතිවරණයේ අපිත් එක්ක හිටපු අයගේ ඡන්ද ටික එකතු වුණාම හරියට ආසන 150ක් අපිට තියෙනවා. මේක දැවැන්ත ජයග්‍රහණයක්. මේ ජයග්‍රහණයේ පදනම වෙන්නට ඕන ජනතාවට සේවය කිරීම. ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා ඔබතුමාලාට පේන ආකාරයට COVID-19 අනතුරෙන් මේ රට බේරගෙන තියෙනවා. තවදුරටත් අපි ඒක කරගෙන යනවා. ලෝකයේ මේ අනතුරෙන් රට බේරගත්තු හොඳම රටවල් අතර අපි ඉදිරියෙන්ම ඉන්නවා. එහා සමානව මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය උදුරට විරුද්ධව අපි විශාල අරගලයක් කරගෙන යනවා. ඒ අරගලයත් අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කරලා මේ රටේ තරුණ පරපුරේ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය උදුරෙන් බේරගන්නවා. අපිට ගෙන්න තියෙන එකම පණිවිඩය තමයි අපි ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයෝ හැටියට සියලුම ජාති ආගම් කුලමල ભેද වලින් තොරව එකට නැගී සිටිමුයි කියන එක. TNA එකට ලැබුණු ඡන්ද වලින් 50% අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. බලන්න යාපනයේ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ පණිවිඩය දෙහා TNA එකට 1,13,000 කන්ද හම්බ වෙනකොට අපිත් එක්ක හිටපු EPD එකට සහ ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයට එක අද බලනකොට අපිට ඡන්ද 93,000ක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ප්‍රථම වතාවට අපිට බැටික්ලෝ එකෙන් ආසන 2ක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. අද ජනතාව තේරුම් අරන් තියෙනවා මේ රට දියුණු කරන්නට ඕන නම් මේ රටේ ප්‍රධාන ජාතිය වන සිංහල බෞද්ධ ජනයාගේ නායකයා ඒ නායකත්වය තියෙන්නේ ගරු ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාටයි මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාටයි. සුළු ජනතාව ඔවුන් එක එකතු වෙලා මේ රට ගොඩ ගන්නට ඕන. එහෙම තමයි රටවල් දියුණු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ පණිවිඩය අද මිනිස්සු තේරුම් අරන් තියෙනවා කියන එක පිළිබඳව මට තියෙන්නේ ශාල සතුටක්. විශේෂයෙන්ම මුස්ලිම් ජනතාව අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා මේ වෙලේ ශාම හොඳට අපිට දන් දෙදීලා තියෙනවා. ගම්පොළ ගත්තම බේරුවල ගත්තම ගාල්ල වැලිගම මේ සියලුම ආසනවල සහ විශේෂයෙන් අපි දැක්කා මාවනැල්ල ගිය සැරේ 15කට පරාජය වෙච්ච එක අපි 15කින් දෙන්නලා තියෙනවා. මේ අනුව මුස්ලිම් ජනතාවත් අපේ පණිවිඩය අරන් තියෙනවා කියන එක පිළිබඳව මට තියෙන නිහතමානී සතුටක්. මට හිතෙනවා අපිට මේ විදියට යන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපිට මේ රට ගොඩ දාලා සියලු දෙනාටම ඉන්න පුළුවන් යහපත් රටක් නිර්මාණය කිරීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා කියන එක.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Big Easy 2 razor. Big Easy 2.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balawega, Sajid Premadas, is adamant that his stance remains unchanged on ushering in contestants defeated in the polls via the national list. Premadasa polled second highest preferential votes from Colombo electoral district. Addressing media in Colombo today, he also alluded to his party's achievements in a short span of time, calling since inception.
මේක තමයි අපේ රටේ තිබෙන එකම දේශපාලන විකල්පය. මේ බලවේගය තමයි ඉදිරියේදී රටේ වගකීම බාර ගන්න ජනතා බලවේගය. ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී ඉතිහාසයේ කෙටිම කාලයක් තුළ මේ තරම් මහා ජන බලවේගයක් ගොඩනැගුණු එකම දේශපාලන බලවේගය සමගි ජන බලවේගය. මේ දේශපාලන බලවේගය එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ යෝජනාවක් සහිතව ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණු පක්ෂයක්. නමුත් කනගාටුවට කාරණා වන්නේ මැතිවරණය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කිරීම ඕන වෙන්න තියලා ඒ සිදුණු ඛේදනීය තත්ත්වයේ ඵල විපාක අද භුක්ති විඳිනවා කියන එක කියන්නට කැමතියි. ප්‍රගතිශීලී ගමනක් අපි යන්නේ. ඒ ගමන තුල ධනාත්මක, ගුණාත්මක, හරාත්මක දේවල් වලට සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන්නට රටටත් ජනතාවටත් ඍණාත්මක අගතියක් සිදු වෙන අවාසි දේවල් තද බල ලෙස විරුද්ධ වන්නට මේ ශක්තිමත් දේශපාලන ක්‍රමවේදය අපි අනුගමනය කරන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. පළාත් සභා මන්ත්‍රීවරුනි, පළාත් පාලන මන්ත්‍රීවරුනි, සමගි ජන බලවේගය අර වෙන විකල්පයක් ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම නැහැ. කරුණා කරලා දැන්වත් අපිත් සමග අත්සල් පැනගෙන රට ගොඩනගන ජයග්‍රාහී ගමන ක්‍රියාත්මක කරමුයි කියලා මම යෝජනා කරමින් 27,71,980ට අපේ හදපිරි ප්‍රණාමයේ ගෞරවයේ කෘතඥතාවය පුද කරමින් ජාතික ලයිස්තුව සකසලා ඉවරද? ජාතික ලයිස්තුවේ වැඩ කටයුතු තවමත් සාකච්ඡා වෙමින් පවතිනවා. මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන කාලය තුල මගින් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇහුවා මැතිවරණ සටනේ සුබෑමට ලක්ුණු අය පෙර සිදු වුණා වගේ ජාතික ලයිස්තුවෙන් ගන්නවද කියලා. මං කිව්වා එහෙම දෙයක් කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. එදා උත්තරෙත් එහෙමයි. අද කිසි වෙනසකුත් නැහැ. අතරම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ මොකදුමා මැතිවරණ ප්‍රතිඵල බැලුවා නේද? ඒ බැලුවා නම් මම හිතන්නේ ඕනම කෙනෙකුට ඒක තේරෙනවා. මම හිතනවා මේ සීල දෙනාම සමගි ජන බලවේගයත් සමග එකතු වෙනවා නොඅනුමානයි. සිරිකොත අල්ලන්න තමයි අපේ සුදාම. දැන් ඒ අදහස් සම්පූර්ණයෙන් පුදුමලක් තියෙනවා. ඒක තමුන්නාන්සලා හදාගත්තු කාරණා. අල්ලන කතා කිව්වේ. දානමය ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව නැවත සංශෝධනයකට ආවොත් උතුමාලාගේ සහයෝගයක් ලැබෙනවද? සංශෝධනය කියන එක එකක්. සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අයින් කිරීම එකක්. 19 වෙනි ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය වශයෙන් සුරකින්නට අපි කැප වෙනවා.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the 2020 general election in Sri Lanka, as we know, made history for a number of reasons. Amongst the reasons is an unwanted record, as the election recorded the highest ever rejected votes in the country's history, which is a total of 744,373 from the votes cast. Speaking to First at 9, convener of the Centre for Monitoring Election Violence highlighted the main factors which played a key role for such a large number of votes being rejected.
Parliamentary General Election 2020, it has reported that a total number of rejected vote has increased up to 744,373. It is a higher number of rejecting votes in this time than Centre for Monitoring Election Violence as an election monitoring mission. Considering this as a highest number of rejected votes in these elections, the Election Commission should be focused on this matter. CMEV is under the impression that there are few components, few factors can be affected to such number of rejected votes. Number one will be the electoral literacy of the public. Secondly, few people casting ballots just to exercise rights but not marking ballots as required. Thirdly, the division between the United National Party supporters refraining to vote or in a dilemma to choose between two symbols and candidates. Fourthly, wrongful marking of ballots. These factors can be affected to the ballots. CMEVs believe that both Election Commission and political parties as well as civil society organizations, election monitoring missions should take this as a priority. There should be a proper mechanism to aware voters in this regards. We observed that estate area, voters in those areas are not aware how to vote. Due to that, these four factors can be affected to this. CMEV believe that there should be a proper mechanism to cater this issue as soon as possible before commencing the Provincial Council elections in next time.
Now, the 2020 parliamentary elections are over, but issues still linger. Some of them relate to the national list, while others are also in question, while other matters also relate to question marks over the legality of some selected members' suitability to be sworn in as parliamentarians.
At the general election 2020, Premalal Jayasekara polled 142,037 votes and came in second place from the Ratnapura district. However, there is a problem. In the lead up to the polls, the Ratnapura High Court found him guilty of a 2015 murder and gave him the death sentence. This has led to the question whether Jayasekara is capable of being sworn in as a member of parliament. Adding to the conjecture is the fact that Sri Lanka lacks a reference point for the matter, since such a situation has not arisen in the country before. Director Legal at the Election Commission Nimal Punchiheva says that Premalal Jayasekara is legitimately elected to the parliament and as such, the Election Commission must gazette his name. He added that a court of law must decide if Premalal Jayasekara is unsuitable or not. But Secretary General of Parliament Dhammika Dasanayaka says that a person that has been sentenced to death cannot take oath as a parliamentarian. He went on to say that it has to be checked whether Premalal Jayasekara's name is included in the list of parliamentarians to be gazetted in the future. What's more, he said that the decision given by the Court of Appeal will be taken into consideration when deciding whether Premalal Jayasekara is allowed to take oath as an MP or not. In the meantime, there is an issue within the Our Power of People party as to which member of the party will be included in the national list and take oath as MP. A spokesperson of the Election Commission said that the General Secretary of the party, Venerable Vimalati Sathera, submitted a letter to the Election Commission yesterday stating that he is selected to take a seat in Parliament. However, a group of party representatives called at the Election Commission today saying that there is a problem in the selection process and that another person will be nominated for the relevant seat in the future. Sources within the party meanwhile reveal that former MP Venerable Athuraliye Ratanathera, Venerable Galagodatti Gnanasarathera and Venerable Pahiyangala Anandasagarathera have been nominated for the seat. The final decision on the matter will be communicated to the Election Commission tomorrow following tonight's discussions. Party sources, however, say that Venerable Galagodatti Gnanasarathera has been selected as the suitable person to fill the parliamentary seat. Meanwhile, the United National Party is yet to make its national list nomination to fill its seat in Parliament. However, according to sources, General Secretary of the party Akila Viraj Karyavasam has been nominated to take the parliamentary seat via the national list. In the meantime, elected member of the Tamil National Alliance M.A. Sumandiran says that all Tamil contenders elected to parliament from the north and east should work together in what he termed as the problem against the Tamil people.
வடக்கு கிழக்கை பொறுத்தவரையிலே தமிழ் தேசிய கூட்டமைப்பு பாரிய பின்னடைவை ஒன்றை சந்தித்திருக்கிறது. நாங்கள் மக்களிடத்திலே 20 ஆசனங்கள் கொடுத்து எங்களை பாராளுமன்றத்துக்கு அனுப்புங்கள் என்று கேட்டிருந்தோம். இப்பொழுது அதிலே அரைவாசி எண்ணிக்கை தான் எங்களுக்கு கிடைத்திருக்கிறது. யாழ்ப்பாணத்திலே இருந்து திரு விக்னேஸ்வரன் அவர்களும் திரு கஜேந்திரகுமார் பொன்னம்பலம் அவர்களும் இன்னும் 3 பாராளுமன்றத்துக்கு வருவார்கள். அவர்கள் எங்களோடு இணைந்து அல்லது நாங்கள் அவர்களோடு இணைந்து தமிழ் மக்களுக்கு எதிராக எழுந்திருக்கிற இந்த பாரிய சவாலை முறியடிப்பதற்கு அதற்கு முகம் கொடுப்பதற்கு எங்களுடைய கதவுகள் திறந்தே இருக்கின்றன என்பதை நான் சொல்லி வைக்க விரும்புகிறேன்.
Now, the US State Department and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has lifted global advisories recommending US citizens avoid all international travel because of the coronavirus pandemic and instead issued a raft of high-level warnings for individual countries. Among them is Sri Lanka, which is placed under the list of Level 3 warning of reconsider travel. The US State Department said in a statement lifting its do not travel advisory with health and safety conditions improving in some countries and potentially deteriorating in others, the department is returning to its previous system of country-specific levels of travel advice. The CDC also dropped its global advisory recommending against all non-essential international travel due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but nearly all countries remain on its highest level 3 advisory to avoid all non-essential travel. A few countries including Thailand, New Zealand and Fiji were put on a low-risk level 1 advisory. US airline stocks rose on the announcement. The State Department issued updated country travel specific alerts including level 4 do not travel advisories for about 30 countries including India, Russia, Bangladesh, Belize, Bolivia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Egypt, El Salvador, Haiti, Iran, Kosovo, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Honduras and Libya. Re-scrutinized results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination 2019 were released today. The results can be obtained via the website of the Department of Examination www.doenets.lk by submitting the examination index number. The Advanced Level Examination was held from the 5th to the 31st of August 2019 at 2,678 examination centres across the country. Meanwhile, 339,369 candidates, including 198,229 new applicants, sat for the exam. The results of the exam were released on the 27th of December last year. We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Sri Lanka's overall number of COVID-19 recoveries rose by 12 today, taking the overall recovery number to 2,576. This places the recovery percentage at 90.67. In the meantime, the country's total active COVID-19 cases was reported at 254, while the overall number of COVID-19 infections currently stand at 2,841. Now, oil prices fell nearly 2% yesterday, limiting their weekly gain due to concerns the global recovery could falter from a resurgence of coronavirus cases. The rise in infections remains the dominant issue for the fuel demand outlook. Cases in the United States are still rising in a number of states, while India recently reported a record daily jump in infections. More than 700,000 people have died in the worldwide pandemic. Brent crude fell 69 cents to settle at $44.40 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude fell 73 cents to end at $41.22 a barrel. Brent rose 2.5% for the week, while WTI gained 2.4%. Talks between US lawmakers over another round of stimulus have stalled. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has threatened to pull White House representatives out of talks and instead issue executive orders to address economic needs. OPEC member Iraq pledged to cut output further in August, which helped support prices. The nation has been a laggard in fully meeting its pledge as part of an April deal to reduce supply. Crude has recovered from lows reached in April when Brent slipped to below $16, a 21-year low. Now, US equities closed mixed yesterday as traders weighed escalating US-China tensions against rosy labor market data. Major indexes traded lower overnight and opened in the red after President Donald Trump on Thursday handed down an executive order against Chinese tech firms. Losses persisted throughout much of yesterday after the US placed sanctions on 11 Chinese officials and their counterparts in Hong Kong. The negative China headline contrasted with the US's addition of 1.8 million jobs in July. It marks the third straight month of labor market improvements as unemployment saw a historic spike in April. Economists surveyed by Bloomberg expected 1.5 million payroll additions. The US Treasury has imposed sanctions on Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam and 10 other top officials from Hong Kong and mainland China. According to Treasury Secretary of the United States, the sanctions were used to target those undermining Hong Kong's autonomy. The move comes weeks after China imposed a controversial national security law on Hong Kong, which critics say threatens its freedoms. US-China tensions continue to escalate as earlier this week, the Trump administration moved to ban US transactions with the Chinese owners of the WeChat and TikTok apps. Among those sanctioned are Hong Kong's police commissioner and several political secretaries. In the meantime, thousands of Lebanese, furious with their political leaders, are taking to the streets again 4 days after a huge explosion left at least 158 dead in Beirut. Some protesters have clashed with police who fired tear gas. Tuesday's blast at the port devastated parts of the city and has reignited deep-seated anger at what many see as an inept and corrupt political class. The explosion was caused by a huge stock of ammonium nitrate that had been seized from a ship but never moved. The government has promised to find those responsible, but there is a huge level of mistrust in Lebanon, where an anti-government protest movement erupted last October, fueled by an economic crisis and a collapsing currency. 2 ministers who attempted to visit badly damaged neighborhoods in recent days were chased out. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.